Coming up on today's Airborne, Textron buys Beechcraft for $1.4 billion. The FAA grants Type Inspection Authorization to HondaJet. And the field narrows to 18 teams competing for the $30 million Google Lunar XPrize. Welcome to Airborne on Aero-TV. I'm Ashley Hale. The pilot of a single-engine airplane was rescued from the burning wreckage of his aircraft after it went down late Thursday night at Tampa International Airport in Florida. Tom Patton has that story.
Ashley, the pilot was identified as 58-year-old Mark Love of Tampa, and he was flying a Cessna 210 registered to a small package delivery service based in Ohio. According to a Tampa Police Department news release, officers Dave Dennison and Brian Gentry were conducting an aerial patrol when they heard a pilot talking with controllers about problems with his airplane. The plane went down just inside airport property, and the officers landed their helicopter near the wreckage. Officer Gentry extinguished the engine fire and extracted the unconscious pilot from the airplane. The pilot was transported to the hospital. The Tampa Tribune reports that Love never declared an emergency as he approached the airport, but Dennison, the pilot of the police helicopter, could tell from his communications with air traffic controllers that something was seriously wrong with the airplane, and witnesses said they had seen the airplane with its entire front end on fire crossing an expressway near the airport. Love was last reported in stable condition at a Tampa hospital. For Airborne, I'm Tom Patton.
It's official. A number of media reports have confirmed that Scott Donnelly and Textron have bought Beechcraft. Less than a year after Beechcraft emerged from bankruptcy with the intention to retool itself as a piston and turbine manufacturer and get out of the jet business. Wichita seems to be breathing easier, and concerns that other suitors, mostly Embraer or Mahindra, might have wound up with the company and created even more uncertainty for the local employment scene. Of course, Textron also holds the purse strings for Cessna, so the reconfiguration of the companies offers some enticing as well as worrisome prospects. Will Beechcraft remain a separate company, or will it become part of Cessna? The King airline of turboprops looks to be successful in the foreseeable future, but will the G36 Bonanza and the G58 Baron survive? And of course, the big question is, what happens to the individual companies, their leaders, the staffing, and their current business plans? Textron and Beechcraft are officially not commenting to anyone, so ANN will have some more information on the story when someone finally speaks up. But it could be a long holiday. Honda Aircraft Company has announced two significant milestones in the development of its HondaJet. The FAA has issued the first Type Inspection Authorization certificate for the HondaJet and has certified Honda Aircraft Company's customer service facility as a Part 145 repair station. Type Inspection Authorization is a pivotal point in the development and certification of a new aircraft. It signifies that HondaJet meets type design requirements and is ready for the FAA pilots to perform onboard flight tests required for certification. This will pave the way for HondaJet type certification and first deliveries of the airplane. The Honda Aircraft Customer Service Facility is located at the company's world headquarters at the Piedmont Triad International Airport in Greensboro, North Carolina. This facility opened in October as an expansion of the company's world headquarters that also includes state-of-the-art R&D and production facilities. With just over 2 years to go until the deadline, the competition intensifies for the $30 million Google Lunar XPrize, the largest incentivized competition ever offered. 18 privately funded teams now form the lineup in the race to soft land a spacecraft on the surface of the moon before the December 31, 2015 deadline. In the past 12 months, the field of competitors has narrowed due to a handful of teams withdrawing to focus on other business interests, in addition to several instances of collaboration between teams. Alexander Hall, Senior Director of the Google Lunar XPrize, said, quote, "We knew that 2013 would be the make or break year for many teams, as they need to be close to securing their launch by now if they're going to make an attempt at the prize. We are delighted that the technologies and expertise gained through the participation in the Google Lunar XPrize is already being used to create businesses and jobs, both in the space sector and in other fields," end quote. EAA Aeromedical Advisory Council Chairman Dr. Stephen Leonard learned from the FAA last Thursday that the agency will delay implementation of its new sleep apnea policy planned for next month in order to gain additional input from the aviation and medical community. The new policy, which would mandate obstructive sleep apnea testing and evaluation for pilots with a body mass index of 40 and above, was scheduled to go into effect in January. EAA and its Aeromedical Council objected strenuously to the policy. Congress has also entered the debate, as a bill introduced in the House of Representatives earlier this month would have prevented the FAA from implementing the policy without a full rulemaking and public comment process. That bill is yet to be approved by the House. The FAA is now planning a meeting as early as next month with aviation and medical stakeholders, including general aviation organizations and aviation medical examiners. Whether the FAA succumbed to pressure or finally came to its senses, we at ANN are glad to see this issue is being brought forward in an open forum, as it should have been from the start. Last Friday, Gulfstream recognized the one-year anniversary of the first customer delivery of the ultra-large cabin, ultra-long-range Gulfstream G650. In a year's time, the company has delivered nearly 50 G650 aircraft to customers. Gulfstream announced the G650 in March of 2008, and the aircraft made its first flight in November of 2009. 7 flight test aircraft participated in the flight test program, which resulted in the aircraft earning its type certificate from the FAA in September of 2012. That same year, it also earned its certification from the European Aviation Safety Agency. It is also certified in numerous other countries and territories. The FAA is working with federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies, the aviation community, and the National Football League to ensure safe and secure aviation operations during Super Bowl 48, which is scheduled to take place February 2nd at the MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The FAA will establish 2 temporary flight restriction areas over MetLife Stadium. A smaller TFR will be established for pregame activities, followed by a larger TFR to continue about an hour after the end of the game. While the TFRs are in effect, numerous airports will be affected, and specific communication and transponder requirements must be followed. Pilots are urged to obtain specific TFR specifications if flying within 30 miles of the stadium site. The FAA expects an additional 1,200 general aviation flights to the New York and New Jersey metropolitan airports during Super Bowl 48. The FAA will separate the Super Bowl transient traffic from normal air traffic operations and assign departure slots for flights operating at general aviation airports within the TFR. The FAA will increase staffing and hours of operation at air traffic control facilities as needed. You're watching Airborne. More in a moment.
Since its inception, Redbird Flight Simulations has been dedicated to developing new training technologies and processes in an ongoing effort to make aviation safer, more affordable, and more accessible. Consider Redbird's flagship flight training device, the FMX, a superior quality, full-motion, feature-rich advanced aviation training device priced with real-world flight training organizations in mind. With standard features that are anything but standard, such as wraparound visuals, a fully enclosed cockpit, quick change configurations, scenario-based training compatibility, and of course, an electric motion platform, the FMX serves up a level of realism that is simply unavailable in other training devices on the market. For more information on Redbird flight simulations, the Redbird FMX, and Redbird's entire line of flight training devices, Visit www.redbirdflightsimulations.com.
Rebuilding the sport aviation world one aviator at a time. That's A&N's new Aero Sports ebook series, your resource guide to the ultimate in aviation adventures. Aero Sport will feature the straight skinny on learning and enjoying 16 unique aviation sports, from ultralights and ballooning to aerobatics, gyroplanes and hang gliders to parachuting, home builds and general aviation to RC models. All this and more will be coming soon with the new updatable Aero Sport guide for your favorite electronic devices. Get your advance order in now at www.aero-sport.net.
Welcome back. If you'd like to suggest a story for Airborne, Aero-TV, our website, or podcast, drop us an email to news-spy@aero-news.net. The investigation of an accident which occurred in Nashville, Tennessee about 2 months ago has turned up some new information about the pilot of a Cessna 172, which went down on a runway at Nashville International Airport. The destroyed plane sat on the runway for several hours before being noticed by another pilot because of dense fog. As it turns out, the pilot may have been avoiding the law. The pilot, identified as Michael Callan, had been arrested in 1997 for a series of robberies in Windsor, Canada, and sentenced to a 10-year prison term. He remained in Canada for a few years after being released from prison, but had been arrested again in 2011 and charged with disturbing the peace. Authorities said had Callan been convicted of the charges, he may have gone back to prison. Canadian authorities says it's possible that Callan rented the plane and deviated from his flight plan, crossing the border and heading south in an attempt to reach Mexico, where he felt he could escape his legal troubles. Another of the famed Tuskegee airmen has passed away. William L. Booker died November 30th at a nursing home in Kirkland, Washington. Booker was a navigator and flight engineer on B-25 bombers during World War II, where he served with the 477th Bombardment Group based in Kentucky at Goodman Field. He was among those who trained with all-black crews and served in segregated units during the war. Booker had reportedly been training to participate in an invasion of Japan when the war ended. Booker worked for Boeing for 34 years. He also was president of the local Tuskegee Airmen's chapter. Booker graduated from the University of Denver, became an electrical engineer, and was a patent-holding inventor. Dolores, his wife of 45 years, said he traveled across the Pacific Northwest, making inspirational speeches to young people, urging them to take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to them. He actively helped raise thousands of dollars for scholarships every year. And now it's time for Aero Video of the Week.
What are you looking for Christmas this year, Cohen? A choo-choo train? Ho, ho, ho! A classic!
Holiday travel can be stressful even under the best of circumstances. So WestJet offered some holiday cheer to more than 250 travelers on 2 Calgary-bound flights and produced this Christmas edition of our AVW. The entire video runs about 5.5 minutes. On their blog, the folks at WestJet said, quote, "Have some tissues handy when you watch it. Happy holidays, everybody." Here's a story of an airline captain whose heart was in the right place, but his actions may have been misplaced. A Pakistan International Airlines pilot, described as a foodie, let his passion get in the way of his job recently, as he reportedly delayed his flight from Pakistan to New York while he waited for sandwiches to be delivered. When the pilot learned that the flight had only peanuts, chips, and cookies on board, he said, quote, he needed sandwiches at any cost, end quote. That request was forwarded to the airline's catering office, and management told the catering department to get sandwiches to the plane. After about a 2.5-hour delay waiting for the sandwiches to arrive, the flight finally departed. A spokesman for the airline told a newspaper had, quote, taken serious notice of the delay of an international flight, end quote, and the incident was under investigation. I guess they don't have 30-minute pizza delivery in Pakistan. Well, that's our program. Remember, you can get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories at aero-news.net. And there will be no Airborne this Thursday, as we'll all be celebrating the holidays with our families. But please join us again next Tuesday for a new episode of Airborne. I'm Ashley Hale. Thanks for watching, and Merry Christmas.